because we were slaves unto Pharaoh in Egypt, the Lord our God brought us forth from thence with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. If the most holy, blessed be he, had not brought forth our ancestors from Egypt, we and our children and our children's children had still continued in bondage to the Pharaohs in Egypt. Let us begin our own discourse tonight with the story of Moses and the rebellion of our forefathers against slavery, as it was retold in our days by the prophet Abraham Johannes Mussey.
Always welcome their deliverance. They get accustomed to being slaves, even after they have been freed. If freedom brings hardship, they may want to go back to the flesh pots of Egypt. After a while, God came into the picture. What was the sign that God had come? It was a bush that burned and burned and did not stop burning. What was God all burned up about? It was the physical, economic, and spiritual suffering, the injustice, the degradation to which actual people were subjected here on earth that caused God concern. And the proof that God had entered into Moses and that Moses had been really converted was that he had to go back and identify himself with his enslaved people, organize them into Brickmayers Union Number 1, and lead them out of hunger and slavery into freedom and into a good land and a large and a land flowing with milk and honey.
Will you join us as we recite the 10 plagues? And as you know, traditionally we put our finger in the wine cup and drop a drop of wine to symbolize each of the 10 plagues. These are the 10 plagues which the most holy, blessed be he, brought on the Egyptians in Egypt. Don't worry, it's sanitary, it'll be all right. You won't get anything bad. You might get something good. Say them with me. Blood, frogs, vermin, poisonous beasts, pestilence, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, slaying of the firstborn. That did it. Man, when he comes back the other way, tell him we're just starting.
And it was not bloodless when Shaphat Eldridge Cleaver went into exile like Moses. All power to the people.
All power to the people. All power to the people.
This bitter herb, wherefore do we eat? Because the Egyptians embittered the lives of our ancestors in Egypt, as it is said. And they embittered their lives with cruel bondage in mortar and brick and in all manner of labor in the fields. All their labor was imposed upon them with rigor. It is therefore incumbent on every person in every generation, not merely every Jew, but every man and woman, to look upon himself as if he had actually gone forth from Egypt.
I have a question to ask about the story of the 5 rabbis who stayed up all night. Can you explain that story? What was the meaning of it?
I've heard a version of the story. I've been told a version of the story. The question's been asked, what about the 5 rabbis who spent so long all night talking at B'nai Barak that it was their students who had to come in the morning and say, it's time to read the morning prayer already. And there is a story about that story. The story about that story is that at the time the 5 rabbis met at Bnei Barak under the Roman Empire, what they were really meeting for was to plan resistance, was to plan a rebellion against Rome. And that night they asked their students to let them know that if the fuzz showed up, to come with the password, to say to them, it's time to read the morning prayers, which meant
They weren't really 5 rabbis. They were 5 priests. They were discussing birth control. They're all married.
Third cup, if you're not leaning on each other by now, do it. See, because this is the cup of ease. And we sing together the blessing, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei b'riyah. Together we say, blessed art thou, created the fruit of the vine.
Blessed art thou, O Lord, our God, King of the universe, who hast sanctified us with thy commandments and commanded us to eat unleavened bread.
brothers and sisters, we have been remembering our slavery and our liberation. But just as it was we, not our ancestors only, who were liberated in Egypt, so it is we, not our ancestors only, who live in slavery. Our slavery is not over. Our liberation is not complete. The task of liberation is long, and it is work that we ourselves must do. As the Talmud tells us, we, like Moses, may not live to complete the task, and like King. But neither may we refrain from beginning it. We are about to eat. May our dinner give us strength for the work ahead. We are about to drink. May our wine give us joy for the work ahead. May we give each other joy in the struggle just as we share this wine. And stand, all of you, if you can, please. Good.
All right.
And join with me. Join with us all. Liberation now!